Craig Holtman here for FlyStream magazine, and today we're going to tie the Gambusia, which is another name for a mosquito fish, a common little minnow that trout feed in both in rivers and lakes, both in Victoria and New South Wales. To start off with, we'll need a long shank size 10 hook for this particular fly. Then we'll have some fine to medium gold wire. The body is made out of this shimmer flash, shimmer flash in the peacock colour, so we'll make the body out of that. Then the wing is olive dyed squirrel zonker strip, and finally we'll put in some throat hackles, where we use the olive strung cock hackle. Okay, so we start off with a size 10 long shanked hook, and coming in with our 8/0 thread. Look, you can use any colour, but I use the olive in this. This keeps it all the same colour and keeps everything looking good. Get that firmly lashed in there. Then the next thing we're going to need to do is put in our gold wire. And tie this up at the front, as in with all our flies, ensuring that we keep a nice even body. So we don't want lumps and bumps coming through in the finished body there. Progressing down to the bend of the hook, then back up to the front. Now we'll put in the shimmer flash. And normally I pinch out about 6 strands of shimmer flash through this fly. And it doesn't say, you don't have to count them, but about 6 or so strands. Maybe we might even have 8 there. That would do. So that's the shimmer flash that we're going to put into this fly. Just cut that off even. Catch that up the front there, and again wind down all the way down to the bend of the hook. And come back up again to the front. So we're keeping a nice flat body, and probably just keeping around about 1 millimetre in behind the eye of the hook. Now, ensuring that we don't catch our copper wire, we now wind back down the shank of the hook, creating our fine body as we go. That gives that little bit of sparkle, and we've seen it in those little bait fish. They have that little shiny sort of stomach part of the actual fish itself. Bring that right down towards the front there, catch that there. Come forward, we'll put about three or 4 turns in to catch that. And just trim that off. Now you can go backwards and forwards a number of times if you want to plump that up a bit, but these are just a small little forage fish, so that's certainly thick enough. Now we're coming in with our squirrel wing, and we've got to just catch that in just up the top, like so. Now the trick here is to make sure that this all sits on top of the hook. We don't want it falling off the back of the hook as we tie it on. So it needs a little bit of manipulation. Bring your wire down and around and back over the top. And this is where I use a dubbing needle, just to spread those fur fibres in the zonker strip, because we don't want to trap those and push it back. And that first one is a very important turn, just to make sure everything's right. So I've got that as the first turn. Now coming back for the second, and again use the dubbing needle to split once again in behind, keeping on making sure that we pull that forward so we're not rolling around the hook shank. Third time takes about five times that we have to go through this. Catching that again. 4. Just take your time with this bit. You don't want to squeeze down those fibres unduly. and then the 5th one will go in there. So it can be a little bit fiddly, but once you've done a few of these, you'll get a feel for this. Remember, we went through the same process when we were doing the green machine. Coming around to the front, to the eye there, and then we'll lash that in. Just get about 3 over that there. Now, at this stage, we can come in with our scissor points and about that distance there, but don't just go in and chop it off and cut all those fibres. You tend to put the points in and then pull back a little bit, cut it there. You see if I wet that now, that gives us a nice little wing. Catch that again, and then we can break that off. Now come down a little bit, just down towards where the zonker strip starts there, and this is where we'll put in a little throat hackle. This is optional, you don't have to put this in, but I think it just finishes off that fly and gives it a little bit more sense of movement. So what we'll do is we take our cock hackle there, or a strung hackle, pull off the bits we don't need, and then you take a fairly generous clump. So you pull out these fibres at 90 degrees from the quill, catch them like that, and then strip them off. And that means you'll all get them approximately the same length. Then we're going to tie them in at a slight angle and about half the length of the hook shank. So we've got one clump on this side, there's one clump, and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Another clump on that other side, the same length. So we've got our 2 clumps in there. Then we're going to just trim off the butt ends and finish off our head. Got a little bit of stuff going awry there, we'll cut that off. Being careful not to catch our thread at the same time. How many times have we done that? Now in order to finish that head and get a nice smooth head, come forward to the eye of the hook and then slowly work your way back down towards the back of the fly. Again, coming forward again, trying to catch all those fibres so we get a nice smooth head, which we have there. And then we'll whip finish. Now if you want to put a little bit of zap into this fly, you can actually finish the hook with fluorescent orange thread. If you want to put a little hot spot on your fly, that's quite acceptable and quite a nice little variation on this fly as well. And that's the finished fly. The only other thing we need to do now is finish off with some head cement. Put a little bit on either side of that fly. There's the head there. That gives us a nice smooth head. So that's the Gambusia, say a very versatile fly, particularly in Western Victoria where I fish a lot, particularly in autumn as the water levels start to subside. These little Gambusias are forced out into the main parts of the lake and fish hunt on them quite actively. The Gambusia.